friends, welcome back. So good to see you. Many of you guys were present in the regular session. So good to see you back, guys. So for the students who are attending my session for first time, I am CA Vipin Bora, and I'll be taking care of a few chapters of cost and management accounting for September 2026 LVRC batch. So today we'll be starting with, today we'll be discussing process and joint and byproduct. I have uploaded few questions. The questions are from MTPs and RTPs only. I have uploaded 3 questions. So I request you guys to please download the questions what I have provided over the portal. So before starting with these questions, if you guys have any doubts, those who are present in the session, if you guys have any doubts or you have any query, you can just post your query. The session is basically to address all your queries plus a quick review of the chapter. So Mehak, Gayatri, Khushi, I think all of you guys were regular in the batch. If you guys have any doubts, yes, Khushi, tell me. Do you want to say something? Fine, so let's start with this. Once again, huh? Okay, I'll try to cover a question on inter-process profit also, Mehak Roy, don't worry. Mostly, I'll be taking care of the most important part of the chapter, that is basically the concept of equivalent production. But yes, if the time permits, I'll surely try to cover this part also of inter-process profit. Anyone else with any doubts or queries? Let me check the queries over the portal also. 1 second. I hope you are thorough with the concepts, Mehak. So fine, now let's start with this chapter, process costing. Let me give you a quick brief about what all is covered in this chapter. Now, when talking about process costing, it's a method of costing used by those manufacturing concerns wherein the raw material has to pass through 2 or more than 2 processes before being converted into final product. So I repeat again, when talking about this process costing, it's a method of costing used by those companies wherein the raw material has to pass through 2 or more than 2 processes before being converted into final product. Now, since each process is unique and separate, therefore, a separate process account is to be prepared for every process to record the cost pertaining to that process. क्योंकि हर एक प्रोसेस डिफरेंट है, सेपरेट है, तो हर प्रोसेस का हम लोग क्या करेंगे, एक सेपरेट प्रोसेस अकाउंट प्रिपेयर करेंगे टू रिकॉर्ड द कॉस्ट दैट आर रिलेटेड टू दैट प्रोसेस. So this is all what we'll be doing in process costing. Apart from this, few terms, that is normal loss and abnormal gain. So when talking about normal loss, the loss that is inherent in nature, the loss that is bound to happen due to the nature of product or production process, this loss we can't avoid is normal loss. Now, due to normal loss, the product cost will be inflated. Due to normal loss, the product cost will be inflated. When talking about abnormal loss, the loss in excess of normal loss is abnormal loss. It occurs due to abnormal reasons, that is loss by fire, carelessness of worker, or any accidents. The value of abnormal loss will be equal to the value of good units, and it will be further transferred to costing P&L. When talking about abnormal gain, when the actual production exceeds the expected production. I repeat again, when the actual production exceeds the expected production. So that excess production is what we call as abnormal gain. In simple terms, we can say abnormal gain is basically the saving in normal loss. Again, after making few adjustments, the amount of abnormal gain will be transferred to costing P&L. Now, these are the 3 points that I have covered. Now, apart from this, the concept of work in progress, wherever you'll find work in progress, the concept of equivalent production comes into picture. So I'll be discussing the concept of equivalent production. Now, many students face problem that what will be the treatment of normal loss, and abnormal gain in a statement of equivalent production. So first point, very important point. When it comes to normal loss, I'm talking about statement of equivalent production. In statement of equivalent production, you have to ignore normal loss. When talking about abnormal loss, follow the instructions that are given in the question. Related to percentage of completion. And when talking about abnormal gain, assume it is 100% processed. So generally, while see again, as I mentioned that the session is a revisionary session, so I'm assuming that you guys are thorough with the concepts of process costing. So while preparing statement of equivalent production, that is the number of equivalent units. So the first point is normal loss. We have to ignore normal loss while preparing statement of equivalent production. Second point is abnormal loss. How much percentage is completed? The instructions will be given in the question. And if it is abnormal gain, always assume that the units are 100% processed. So these are the 3 points what you have to keep in mind while preparing statement of equivalent production. If you guys want, you guys can please copy the statement. Now, apart from this, there is one more concept of inter-process profit, wherein the output of a particular process is transferred to the next process at cost plus profit. So if the time permits, we'll be discussing one question on inter-process profit also. So now, without wasting time, let's start with the questions. So I request you guys to please download the material what I have provided. I'll be starting with question number 1, CMA Limited. I request you guys to open question number 1, CMA Limited. Take your time and please download the material what I have provided. I'll be starting with question number 1 now. In the meanwhile, those who have any doubts or queries, you guys can speak to me. The question is from MTP, the latest MTP. So let's start with this question. Now, CMA Limited is known for its two-stage production process, which is as follows, wherein process A and process B are there. So process A, raw wool is converted into premium woolen thread. So basically, they are into manufacturing of wool. From raw wool to premium thread. And process B, it says woolen thread are further refined to create luxurious woolen garment. So ultimately, they are into manufacturing of woolen garments, wherein the raw material is raw wool. And in process one, the wool is converted into thread. And in process two, the thread is converted into garment. So this is all what about CMA Limited work scope. Now, following data is given for the quarter ended March 2025, wherein opening work in progress is given, that is 2,000 units, and the cost of material, labor, and overheads are also given. Cost incurred during the quarter, that is during the current quarter, the cost incurred is as given, that is material, labor, and overheads, and other material. Other material, I think nothing in process A. Now, units of production, 8,000 units were received in process. Completed units were 7,000. Completed units transferred to the next process were 5,500, and units sold in the market were 1,500. So the opening work in progress was 2,000 units. See, the opening work in progress was 2,000 units. Second point, inputs made during the process, made into the process were 8,000 units. So total we have 10,000 units in hand. Out of 10,000 units, 7,000 units were 100% processed and transferred to the next process. Sorry, 7,000 units were 100% completed. Now, out of 7,000 units, 5,500 units were transferred to the next process and 1,500 units were sold in the market. So this is the breakup of 7,000 units. Now, closing work in progress is also given. Normal loss in process, that is 10% of the inputs, including work in progress, is also given. Additional information is given wherein normal loss units are sold at a realizable value of 90 rupees. Any loss beyond the normal loss is considered 100% complete in respect of material and labor and overhead. So, as I said, if it is abnormal loss, you have to follow the instructions that are given in the question, and the question says that the units of abnormal loss are 100% processed. In the market, woolen garments and remaining woolen thread were sold at 20% markup on cost price. So they are selling at a profit of 20% on cost. Degree of completion in process A relating to opening work in progress 100% and 50%, and closing work in progress 100% and 60%. Using weighted average method, you are required to prepare the statement of equivalent production of process A, statement showing cost for each element of process A, statement of distribution of cost of process A, and statement showing sales proceeds of each of the product, that is woolen thread and woolen garment, along with the total sale proceeds of CMA Limited during the specified period. So very simple question, but yes, bit lengthy. I request you guys to read it once. As I told you guys in my regular batches also, half of the work is done when you read the question carefully. So take your time. Those who are watching over YouTube or those who are watching over via any other media, I request you guys to read the question in one go once again. Half of the work is done when you read the question carefully. So giving you 2 minutes time to read the question first. So let's start with this question now. See, the question is first of all asking us to prepare the statement of equivalent production. So let's first calculate the units of abnormal loss, or if it is abnormal gain, then the units of abnormal gain. Let's prepare a draft wherein see opening work in progress we have is 2000 units. Inputs made during the year is 8,000. So total we have 10,000 units in hand. Of this, normal loss is 10% of inputs, that is 1,000. Units completed were how much? Units completed were, it is given in the question that total units completed were 7,000. Of this, 5,500 were transferred to the next process and 1,500 were sold in the market. So units completed were how much? 7,000. Further, closing work in progress is also given. Closing work in progress is also given in the question. That is 1,500 units. So out of 10,000 units, 1,000 is normal loss, 1,500 is closing work in progress, and 7,000 units were completed. So still the balancing figure is 500 units. That is what my abnormal loss. So here in 500 units is what my abnormal loss. Anyone with any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. So 500 units is what my abnormal loss. Now let's start with the statement of equivalent production. Herein the question has clearly mentioned that you have to use weighted average method. See, there are two ways to solve the question, weighted average method and FIFO method. But herein the question has clearly specified that you have to use weighted average method. So we'll be solving this question as per weighted average method. You can check my regular batches. I have discussed in detail what is weighted average method and FIFO method. So let's start with the statement of equivalent production. The first column is particulars. Second one is units. Now see, the percentage of completion of labor and overheads are same. However, material, it is different. So material, percentage of completion, units, percentage of completion, units. So you have to prepare the statement of equivalent production in this way. So let's start with the each and every item one by one. First and the foremost is units completed. Now total 7,000 units were completed. So we will write down 100% completed, 7,000. 100% processed in respect of labor and overheads also, so 7,000. Next is abnormal loss. That is 500 units. Now it is also given, it is also clearly mentioned in the question that any loss beyond the normal loss is assumed to be 100% complete in respect of material and labor. So 100% processed, 500. Now in terms of closing work in progress, it is how much? 1500 units. When talking about the percentage of completion of closing work in progress, see, it is given in the question 100% processed in respect of material and 60% processed in respect of labor and overheads. So 100% processed in respect of material, that is 1500, and 60% processed in respect of labor and overheads. So this will be 900. As far as C, this part is done, closing work in progress is done, units completed is done. When talking about normal loss, as I mentioned also, normal loss is to be ignored while preparing statement of equivalent production. So let's calculate the equivalent number of units. Herein it will be 9,000. Herein it will be 8,000. Anyone with any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. I'm just preparing a draft to calculate the number of units. That's it. This is not a proper process account. Just preparing a draft to calculate the number of abnormal units, abnormal loss. So we are done with the statement of equivalent production now. I hope it is clear, Mehak. So the first part is done. The first part, what the question was asking is prepare the statement of equivalent production of process A. Now, the second part, what they are asking is statement showing cost for each element of process A. Statement showing cost for each element of process A. Statement showing cost. So what all are the elements of cost? In short, we have to calculate the cost per unit. So let's start with the material cost first of all. So since it's a weighted average method, so we will be calculating the weighted average cost, that is the cost of opening work in progress plus the cost incurred during the year divided by overall units. So see, material cost, the opening work in progress cost of material is 4,50,000 plus the cost incurred during the year is 18 lakh. Very important, you have to subtract what? The scrap value realized on sale of normal loss. Don't skip it, this part, guys. Very important, you have to deduct the amount realized on sale of scrap of normal loss. So see, normal loss is 1,000 units and the amount realized on sale of scrap is how much per unit? Rupees 90 per unit. So minus 90,000. Whole divided by total 9,000. So this will be the cost of material. Next is labor and overheads. The cost at the beginning of the year is how much? 1,44,000 plus the cost incurred during the year is how much? 5,70,000 divided by 8,400. So this will be the cost of labor and overheads. So this will be 240. This will be 85. The total cost will be 240 plus 85. That is 325. Anyone with any doubts or queries? This part, Arun, we have to consider while preparing abnormal loss account. As far as only normal loss, see, if it is normal loss, then only the product cost will be inflated. But if it is abnormal loss, the product cost will not be inflated. So any amount realized on sale of abnormal loss will be deducted, and the balance amount of loss will be transferred to costing P&L, Arun. I hope the board is visible to all. Yes, the letters are visible to all. Okay, so let's proceed further now. We have got the total cost. So this part is also done. So first we have prepared the statement of equivalent production. The next part they were asking us to calculate the statement showing cost for each element of process. Now next is statement of distribution of cost of processing. So let's start with first of all units completed. Total 7,000 units were completed and the cost will be 325. So total it is 22,75,000. If we want to do the breakup also, see units transferred and units sold. Units transferred were 5,500 into 325. Units sold were 1,500 into 325. So this is the details of the units transferred. So this the total will be 22,75,000. Now moving towards the abnormal loss part. Again, everything is 100% processed. So 500 into 325. So this will be 162,500. And next is closing work in progress. In terms of material, they are 100% processed. So it is 1500 into 240. And in terms of labor and overheads, equivalent units are 900 into 85. So this is the way you guys have to solve the question. Anyone with any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. So this is the statement of equivalent production. This is the statement wherein we are calculating the cost per unit. And this is the statement for distribution of cost, that is how the cost will be distributed in abnormal loss, closing work in progress, and the units that are transferred. Still the last part is pending. In the meanwhile, if you guys have any doubts related to statement of equivalent production, you guys can please speak to me. This session is conducted by ICAI for you guys only to address all your queries. So whatever the doubts you are facing in process costing or joint and byproduct, you can speak to me directly. Now I request you guys to at least copy this part, because I'll be erasing this part, and I'll be taking care of the remaining part of the question. So I request you guys to copy this part, please. Anyone with any doubts or queries? Now see, the next part of the question, statement showing sales proceed of each of the product, that is woolen thread, woolen garment, along with the sales proceeds of CMA Limited during the specific period. So let's start with the statement of sales. Now see, when talking about the woolen thread, we have already calculated the cost of the units that are sold, that is 487,500. So the amount will be, the revenue will be, that will be realized on woolen thread will be how much? 487,500 plus 20%. See, from process A, woolen thread is what? My final output. So total 7,000 units were received as output of this. 1,500 units were sold and 5,500 were transferred to the next process. So here in the 1,500 units that are sold, the cost was 487,500, and they are saying that you have to add a markup of 20% on cost. So my total sales will be 5,85,000. Now cost of process A is 487,500. So this is the breakup of 1,500 units that are sold. Now for remaining 5,500 units, the cost is 1787,500 for process A. Now apart from this, some other costs were incurred in process B. That is 687,500 is for material, and other material is 30,25,000. So this is the cost of process B. So my total cost will be how much? 37,12,500 plus 17,87,500. So total cost will be 55 lakh. If we add the markup in 55 lakh, that is plus 20%. So 60 lakh, 66 lakh will be my total revenue. My total cost we have. So our profit will be how much? 11 lakh in this case. So this is the way the cost and profit statement is prepared. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Anyone with any doubts or queries? Yes, Arun, Mehak, Avjeet, Garv, Khushi Gupta. This is the total profit. Yes, Khushi, any doubt? Arun, any doubts? Gayatri, any doubts? Pooja? See, why I'm asking you guys that any doubt now, I'm going to ask you one question and I want everyone to address my doubt. So if you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your query. Else I'll be putting up a question in front of you guys now. I request you guys to copy this part. This is statement showing cost per unit. That is statement of distribution of cost. And this is the calculation of profit. The solution is available in MTP, but this is the easiest way to present the solution. Now, a question from my side. If the question asks you to prepare statement of equivalent production, as per FIFO method, what will be the equivalent number of units? Waiting for your answers. What will be the equivalent number of units if the question is asking you to prepare the statement as per FIFO method? Waiting for your answers. What will be the equivalent number of units as per FIFO method? Do post the final answer. Garv. What will be the final total of equivalent number of units? Yes, Garv. And everyone waiting for your answers. Yes, Mehak, Arun, Khushi, waiting for your answers. Okay, Garv, let me check. Yes, Abjeet, waiting for your answer. Arun, quick. Anyways, guys, so let's discuss this part also. Total units completed were how much? Very good, Khushi. Let me check. Total units completed were 7,000 units. So, of this 7,000 units, 2,000 will be from opening work in progress. Now, opening work in progress is 2,000 units. Now, very important, these 2,000 units were opening work in progress, and the work that is already completed in the previous year is how much? 100% in respect of material and 50% in respect of labor and overhead. So this much work is already completed. So nothing is done in the current year in respect of material. And since 50% work is completed in the previous year, so 50% will be completed in this year. From the inputs that are made in the process, that is 5,000 units, they were 100% processed. Rest abnormal loss, it will be the same. 500 units, 100% processed. Closing work in progress was, I think, 1,500 units. Now, this 1,500 will be from the inputs that are made during the year, and they are 100% processed this year in respect of material. So 1,500 into 100%, that is 1,500, and 60% processed in respect of labor and overhead. So this will be 900. So the equivalent number of units in respect of material will be 7,000. In respect of labor and overhead, it will be so 7,000 and 8,400 is the correct answer. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can post your queries. Do make a note of it. Very important, guys. Coincidentally, it is 50%. Let's say the percentage of completion of opening work in progress is 60%. That is given in the question. So, very important, guys. We'll be taking here 40% only because this statement of equivalent production is for the current month and it represents the percentage of the work done in current month or current quarter. So, if 60% work is completed in the previous quarter, it means what? Here only 40% work will be completed. See, 50-50 is equal. So sometimes students get confused. So very important, guys. In this statement, the work done during the current year will be considered. So if 60% or 70% work is completed in respect of opening work in progress, so balance 30% work will be done in this year. So herein it will be 30%. Very important, guys. Do make a note of it. This will be 7,400. Sorry, guys. Anyone with any doubts or queries? So I repeat again, very important, if the percentage of completion in respect of opening work in progress is given 70% and 100% in respect of material, so it will be nothing, and herein it will be 30%, not 70%. That is the key. I request you guys to copy this statement, please. Let's move towards the next question. This is all what about this question. First question. This was from MTP. So let's move towards the next question, that is question number 2. So let's start with question number 2 now. From the material what I have provided, it is from RTP. So let's start with this question, wherein a company produces a component which passes through two processes. During the month of April 2025, material for 40,000 components were put into the process first, of which 30,000 components were completed and transferred to the next process. Those not transferred to the process second were 100% complete as to material and 50% complete as to labor and overheads. The process first cost incurred were as follows, that is 15,000, 18,000, 12,000. Now, of those transferred to process second, so total 30,000 units were transferred. It's a very easy question, but herein, in both the processes, there will be statement of equivalent production. That's why I'm discussing this question, because in the regular batch, I discussed the concepts in detail and one or two questions on equivalent production. But this class, I just want to cover a few more points. So of those transferred to the next process, 28,000 were completed and transferred to the finished stock. There was a normal loss with no salvage value of 200 units in process second, and there were 1,800 units, remain unfinished in the process, with 100% complete as to material and 25% complete as regards wages and overheads. So herein what we can figure out is that out of 30,000, 28,000 units were completed, 200 was normal loss, and 1,800 are the closing work in progress. So in this entire question, there is no information as, there is no abnormal loss or abnormal gain. No further process material cost occurs after introduction at the first process until the end of the second process, when protective packing is applied to the completed components only. The process and the packing costs incurred at the end of the process second, where packing material is given, direct wages and factory overheads are given. You are required to prepare the statement of equivalent production cost per unit and process first account. Again, second, prepare a statement of equivalent production cost per unit and process second account. So let's start with this question. We'll finish this question in 10 minutes. So let's start. So the inputs that were made during the year were 40,000, of which 30,000 were completed and transferred. Closing work in progress was 10,000 and the percentage of completion of material was 100% and labor and overheads were 50%. So this will be 40,000. This will be 35,000. So this is what the first part the question is asking, wherein we have prepared the statement of equivalent production. Now we'll move towards the next part. You can say it is, since opening work in progress is not given, so you can apply any of the, it's by default weighted average method or whatever it is. So we can say it is weighted average method. Now herein the statement of cost per unit. So material, wages and overheads. We'll get the cost per unit. This will be 0.375. Point 0.514. Now let's prepare process account. Material, wages and overheads. Material represents the input and the cost of input. Wages 18,000 and overheads 12,000. By total units transferred were 30,000 and the cost is 1.232. So this will be 36,960. 10,000 units were still in process. Either you can calculate it as 10,000 into 0.375 and 5,000 into 0.514, 5,000 into 0.343. Or alternatively, you can take it as the balancing figure also. So 15 plus 18 plus 12 minus 36,960. So this will be 8040. Alternatively, it can be calculated as 10,000 into 0.375, 5,000 into 0.514, and 5,000 into 0.343. The answer will be the same. So this will be 45,000. This will be 40. Anyone with any doubts or queries in this part? Yes, normal loss will be deducted from the material cost while calculating the cost per unit. Anyone with any doubts or queries? Just give me 1 second. I hope it is clear, Mehak. Any doubts? Now let's move towards the next part, that is process second. First, the same thing, statement. Statement of equivalent production. The same way, material Now see, out of 30,000 units, out of 30,000 units, 28,000 units were completed and transferred to the finished stock. Closing work in progress is how much? See, 1,800 units will remain unfinished. And in terms of completion, it is given in the question that it is 100% complete in respect of material and 25% in respect of wages and overheads. So 100% in respect of material and 25%, that is 450 in terms of wages and overheads. The remaining 200 will be what? Normal loss, that is to be ignored while preparing statement of equivalent production. So this will be 29,800 and this will be 28,450. So we have got the equivalent number of units. Now next is statement of cost per. Now see, the last paragraph is very important, wherein no further process material cost occurs after introduction at the first process until the end of the second process, when protective packing is applied to the components that are completed, not to the units that are still in process. The packing component is to be applied only on the units that are completed and are sold in the market. So this cost of packing material of 4,000 will not be charged to closing work in progress. It is simply to be added to the units that are sold in the market. So let's start. When talking about the material, basically it is inputs from process first. The cost is 36,960 divided by 29,800. When talking about labor cost, it is 3,500 divided by 28,450. Next is 4,500 divided by 28,450. So this is 1.24. This is 0.123. This is 0.158. Anyone with any doubts or queries? So now let's prepare process account. Inputs received from process first. 30,000 inputs. 36,960. Packing material is of 4,000. Next is wages and overheads, that is 3,500 and 4,500. Normal loss is 200 by finished stock and by closing work in progress. Finished stock is of how much units? 28,000 units, and this is 1,800 units. I'm just erasing this part. Those who want to copy this part can please copy this part. Giving you 2 minutes time to copy. I request you guys to copy this part, please. This is the best way to present the solution in exams. Trust me, guys, examiner won't deduct even 1 marks also. So statement of cost per unit and process account. Again, equivalent statement, cost per unit and process account. I request you guys to copy this part, please. Since we have to calculate the value of finished stock and closing work in progress, so I need more space. Okay, erasing this part only. See, total finished stock is of 28,000 units. And the cost per unit is 1.521. So into 28,000 units. So it is 42,588. In this, we will add the packing cost. That is very important. We have to add the packing cost because the packing cost is only for the units that are finished. So this will be 4,000. So this will be 46,588. This part you can assume it as balancing figure, or you can calculate it as follows, wherein closing work in progress material is 100% processed. 1,800 units that are 100% processed. The cost is 1.24. Equivalent number of units are 450. Gayatri, you're talking about this amount, right? Or this one? Okay, got it. So this is the explanation of process second. I request you guys to copy this explanation. Further, do copy the presentation. That is very important. In the meanwhile, those who have any doubts or queries, you guys can post your queries, giving you 5 minutes time to post your queries. This is the rounding of difference, Pooja. I've just taken the balancing figure. That's why I marked the star. See, this is the way to calculate. However, there is a rounding of difference. That's why I've taken in the date as 2372. Thirty-six nine sixty. This is from process first. 36,960 is from process first. That is 1.232. 1.232 into 30,000. See, the cost of process first is how much? 1.232 into the units that were transferred were 30,000. So 30,000 into 1.232. 36,960. I hope it is clear. Yes, Arun. Any doubts? Mehak, any doubts? Khushi Gupta. Yes, Garv, tell me. Yes, Achal, any doubts? Anyone who want to speak to me also, I'm here to speak to you guys. Anyone with any doubt? No worries, Garv, that's okay. I hope you are thorough with the concepts. No worries, Garv. So fine, guys. Let's take a break of 15 minutes. I'll be back after 15 minutes with one more question, and then I'll give you a briefing about joint and byproduct also. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. Admin sir, are you there? Okay, thank you. So we are done with 2 questions. Now let's start with one more question. Question number 3 of my material. Star Limited. I request you guys to open question number 3. It's a very good question. Question number 19. Sorry, question number 3. So let's start with question number 3. No, the question number 3 from my material. The material what I have provided. I hope you have downloaded the material what I have provided. The question is Star Limited manufactures chemical solution for the food processing industry. Repeat again, Star Limited manufactures chemical solution for the food processing industry. The manufacture take place in number of processes and the company uses a FIFO process costing system to value work in progress and finished goods. At the end of the last month, a fire occurred in the factory and destroyed some of the paper files containing records of the process operations for the month. Star Limited needs your help to prepare the process account for the month during which the fire occurred. You have been able to gather some information about the month's operating activities, but some of the information could not be retrieved due to the damage. The following information was salvaged, wherein opening work in progress at the beginning of the month was 800 liters, 70% complete for labor and 60% for overheads. Opening work in progress was valued at 26,640. Closing work in progress at the end of the month was 160 liters, 30% complete in respect of labor and 20% completed for overheads. Normal loss is 10% of the inputs and total losses during the month were 1800 liters, partly due to fire damages. Output sent to finished goods warehouse was 4,200 liters. Losses have a scrap value of 15 rupees per liter. All raw material are added at the commencement of the process. So it means in respect of opening and closing work in progress, 100% material has been processed. Very important, see guys, the cost per equivalent units is rupees 39 for the month, made up as follows, wherein material is 23, labor is 7, overheads are 9, and total cost is 39. So the cost of equivalent production is given. You are required to calculate the quantity in liters of raw material input during the month. Second, calculate the quantity in liters of normal loss expected from the process and the quantity of abnormal loss or gain experienced in the month. Calculate the value of raw material, labor, and overheads added to the process during the month, and prepare the process account for the month. So very good question. Can anyone calculate the quantity of input that were made during the year? Yes. So I request you guys to try to solve this question along with me. So A part, you have to calculate the quantity of raw material input during the month. So waiting for your answer, I will also prepare it. I'll also start solving it. But those who are able to solve this question, just start posting your answers. You have to calculate the input that were made during the month. Yes, any idea what's the answer? Anyone ready with the answer? Very good, Kushi. I've got answer from Kushi. Very good, Kushi. Yes, Gayatri, Pooja, Avjeet, Garv, Achal, Miss Berna. Anyone ready with the answer? Kushi has posted correct answer. Very good, Kushi. I've not received answers apart from Kushi. Yes, these types of question examiner do ask. So we have the opening work in progress, that is 800 liters. We have closing work in progress, that is, I think, 160 liters. Okay, so very good. I've got answer from Mahek also. Arun also. Very good, Arun. Still, many students didn't posted their answer. So very good, guys. So next is units transferred. Total units transferred were how much? 4,200. And loss. Loss is how much? 1,800 liters. It can be normal plus abnormal, whatever it is. So inputs will be my balancing figure. Five three six zero is the correct answer. Very good, everyone. So the first part is done, that is calculate the quantity of raw material input during the month. Second part, what they are saying is calculate the quantity of normal loss expected from the process and the abnormal loss or abnormal gain. So what will be the normal loss, abnormal loss? Can anyone tell me? So inputs made were 5360. Normal loss will be at the rate 10%. That is 536. Abnormal loss will be 1800 is the total loss minus 536. The abnormal loss will be 126. Anyone with any doubts or queries? Normal loss is 10% of input, Khushi. Value of raw material, labor, and overheads added to the process during the month. So we have to calculate the value of raw material, wages, and overheads. So for this, we have to calculate first of all the equivalent number of units, because very important, guys, the herein in question, the cost per equivalent unit is given in the question. So we have to prepare statement of equivalent production now. Herein very important, guys, the percentage of labor and overheads are different. The percentage of completion of labor and overhead is different. So we'll be taking separately material, labor, overheads. Can anyone calculate the equivalent? Giving you 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes time. Can anyone calculate the equivalent number of units? Waiting for your answers for material, labor, and overheads. So giving you 5 to 7 minutes time to calculate equivalent number of units for material, labor, and overheads. Nothing new. This is all what we have discussed throughout the session, how to calculate equivalent number of units. So waiting for your answers, guys. See here in this question, the cost is given per equivalent number of units, not per unit, per equivalent number of units. So to calculate the value of material that is introduced in the process, we have to calculate the equivalent number of units. So it's basically a reverse calculation based question. So waiting for your answers, guys. What will be the equivalent number of units? So I've got answer from Khushi Gupta. Let me check, Khushi. Very good, Khushi. Appreciate your efforts. They are using FIFO method, guys. I've received answer only from Khushi and Garb. Your answers are not matching, Garb and Khushi. Specifically in case of material and labor, I think overheads, your answers are matching, but material and labor are not matching. Yes, what about other students? Yes, Mehak, Achal, Arun, Garb. Mr. Patnayak, Vijay. So see, total 4,200 units were transferred. So 800 will be from opening work in progress. Now, in respect of opening work in progress, it is given in the question that 100% it is processed in respect of material, and for labor and overheads, it is processed for 70% and 60%. So work is already done in respect of material. 70% work is already done. So 30% work will be done in this month. So this will be 240. And herein, in case of overhead, 60% is complete. So 40% will be done this month. So this will be 320. Now from the inputs that were made during the year, total 3,400 units. They were 100% processed in respect of material also, labor also, and overheads also. So this is all what about units transferred. Now, abnormal loss is for 1,264 unit. Now in this question, no information is provided as regards abnormal loss. No information is provided as regards the percentage of completion of abnormal loss. So we will assume it as 100% processed. Next is closing work in progress. That is total 160 units. 100% 160. And percentage of completion is 30% for labor and 20% for overhead. So this will be 4,824. This will be 4,952. This will be 5. Now let me check whose answers were correct. So Kushi Gupta, very good. Your material answer was incorrect. Rest everything correct. Garv, again, material was incorrect. Labor was incorrect. Gayatri, very good. Khushi Gupta, very good. Yes. I hope this part is clear to all. I hope many of you guys must be feeling way better with the concepts of FIFO and weighted average now. I hope the things are clear now. Yes. Anyone with any doubts? Okay. Now, a question from my side. What will be the cost of raw material? Waiting for your answers. What will be the input cost of raw material? The cost of material that were introduced in the process. What will be the total cost? Waiting for your answers. Very good, Garv. Your answer is correct. Yes, what will be the cost of material, guys? Sushi, Mehak, Arun, and Garv. I think everyone have different opinion. Straight question with so many opinion. Yes, what will be the final value? So when talking about the cost of material, see equivalent number of units are 4824 into the cost of equivalent unit is 23. Very important, guys, while calculating the cost per unit, we take the total material cost minus the scrap value realized on sale of normal loss. So herein, the value is already deducted from 23. So we have to add what? What we have to add? Scrap value realized on sale of normal loss. So normal loss was 536 into how much value is realized on sale of normal loss? See, this is a very important point. Many students, during the examination pressure, skip this point. So it is always remember this that this is what scrap value of normal loss. So the total amount will be 1,18,992. So that is the correct answer. And only Garv was correct. Rest everyone with incorrect answer. But that's okay, guys. It happens. So nothing to worry. Now next is 4952 for labor and 5016 for overheads. And the cost we have is how much? See, while calculating the cost of equivalent units, what we do, the cost of material minus the scrap value realized on sale of normal loss divided by equivalent units of material. So herein we have to calculate the cost of input. So herein, that's why we are adding it. I hope this part is clear to all. Now let's prepare the last part, that is process account for the month. The inputs were 5360 and the cost of input was 118992. So we are done with this part. Can anyone calculate the value of abnormal loss, units transferred, and closing work in progress? Yes. These three values I need. Value of abnormal loss, nothing new. This is all what we have discussed throughout the chapter. So this is the last part wherein you have to calculate abnormal loss ka value, units transferred value, and closing work in progress. So giving you 3 to 4 minutes time to, again, the method is what? FIFO method. This is a FIFO method. So calculate the values and tell me the final answer. Waiting for your answers now. Try to solve the question with patience. Examiner do ask these types of questions. So try to solve this question with patience and post the final answers. In in 90% cases, examiner do ask question on concept of equivalent production. This is the last part that was left out in this chapter to be discussed. This part is also covered in this session. So anyways, just post your answers on these three. Waiting for your answers. Especially this part, the units transferred, the value of units that are transferred. Waiting for your answer. See, this is the easiest part, so I'm just erasing it. I mean, you can copy this if you want, because these two parts are very important, and the last part, what I'm discussing, is important. So I'm just erasing this part, guys. I think most of the students were able to post answers on this part. So those who want to copy this part can copy. See, total units transferred were 4,200. 800 from opening were 800 were from opening work in progress, and remaining work was done during the year. So from opening work in progress, since it is FIFO method, and 800 units were actually transferred to the next process, their cost were 26,640. On 800 units, the remaining work was completed in respect of labor and overheads, and the equivalent number of units were 240 and 320. And the cost per unit is how much? It is given in the question. That is 240 and 320. That is 7 and 9 for labor and overheads. So the total cost of entire 800 units will be how much? 240 into 7, 320 into 9, 4560. So this is the total cost of 800 units. And balance were from the inputs that were made during the year. So total 4,200 units were transferred. Of this, 800 were from opening work in progress. So remaining 3,400 units, the full cost will be incurred. That is 39. That is 132,600. So 132,600 plus 26,640 plus 4,560. So it will be 163,800. Anyone with any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. So now, Kushi Gupta, your answer were incorrect. Garv Singla, your answer was incorrect. I'm surprised. How come you're not getting the answer? Still, you're not thorough with the concept. Achal Singh, it is incorrect. Yes, the key part was the calculation of this amount, that is 163,800. If you are not thorough with the concept, the recorded sessions are available over YouTube. You can check out. I have discussed all these points in detail. What went wrong? Yes, Garv. Similarly, let's calculate the value of abnormal loss. See, 1264 100%, 1264 100%, 1264 100%. So straight away, 1264 into 100% cost, that is 39. You have checked my recorded session, Achal Singh? Do check all the sessions I have taken in previous batches. I have taken lectures on material costing, overheads, activity based costing, cost sheet, then process costing, joint and byproduct. Also, I have taken few batches, then service costing, marginal costing, standard costing. So do check all the sessions. Still, if you find any sort of difficulty, just drop in a mail to cma-inter@icai.in addressing my name. I'll be there to attend all your queries. Anyways, so I hope you are able to understand the concepts, Achal. It is 49. So this is 49 to 96. I'm calculating the value of work in progress, calculation of 160 is for material, labor it is 48, and overheads it is 32. These are the equivalent number of units, and the cost per unit is 23, 7, and 9. 23, 7, and 9. So herein, this is the way we will calculate the value of closing work in progress, and this total will tally. Don't worry, guys. If it is not decimal based question, the total will tally. Only in one case, the total will not tally. That is when your solution is incorrect. So do make a note of it. Don't make it a habit to take it as balancing figure. Try to calculate the values. Who knows that while calculating the value of closing work in progress, you find out a mistake in calculation of value of units transferred. So never take it as balancing figure. Try to calculate the value and check out that your answer is correct or not. Examiner is going to give you next chance after 6 months only. So better, instead of doing these kinds of balancing figure kind of thing, better calculate the answers. So anyways, I request you guys to copy this presentation. This part is very important. And what I can observe is that many of the students are still facing problems in calculation of value and calculation of equivalent number of units. 4304, not 4804. It is 4304. That is 160 into 23, 48. See, 160 into material cost, 48 into labor cost, and 32 into overheads cost. I hope this part is clear to all. Last 2 minutes time to post your queries. If any doubts or queries in relation to process costing, you can speak to me. Further, I request you guys to copy this presentation. After this part, I have written two more working notes, this and this. Anyone with any doubts or queries in process costing? Mehak, any doubts? Mehak, see, in terms of inter-process profit-based question, just check out my recorded session. I have discussed this part in detail. The same question that is given in the study material, I have discussed it in 5 to 6 batches. So I assure you, you will be thorough with the concept after seeing that lecture. Still, if you find any difficulty, just drop in a mail cma-inter@icai.in. I'll be there to address your query. Don't worry, Mehak. The same question I have discussed 5 to 6 times. Still, if you find any sort of difficulty, just drop me a mail. So enough of discussion. What, Mehak? It is available, Mehak. Just check my recorded session. I have discussed the same question that is there in the study material in every batch and in detail. Have you checked my recorded session, Mehak? It is there. Do check. I think there were 4 sessions on process costing in every batch. So in one of the session, I have taken the concept of inter-process profit. Okay. Mostly in the second lecture of every batch, I have taken the concept of inter-process profit. I repeat again, in the second lecture of every batch, I have taken the concept of inter-process profit. Yes, do check out. And if anything, you're finding it difficult, then just drop me a mail. Now moving towards the next part, that is joint and byproduct. The chapter is very easy, but the point is you have to understand the question. When talking about joint product and byproduct, see, the concept is very simple. See, this is in continuation of this chapter, process costing. In process costing, what we were doing is that from a particular process, we were getting only one product as an output. So it was very easy to calculate the cost of that product because whatever the cost of that process, that belongs to that product only. Now, what is different in joint and byproduct is that if from a particular process, if 2 or more than 2 products emerge out, एक प्रोसेस से पहले एक ही प्रोडक्ट आता था तो कॉस्ट कैलकुलेशन बहुत इजी था. बट अगर एक प्रोसेस से 2 प्रोडक्ट्स या 2 से ज्यादा प्रोडक्ट्स आए, now the question is how to calculate the cost of these products individually. In short, how to distribute the cost of the process among the 3 products. That is all what we will be you must have learned in joint and byproduct. So very simple, when from a particular process, if 2 or more than 2 products emerge out and all having significant value are known as joint product. And when talking about byproduct, it's an incidental waste that arises during the course of manufacturing the main product. वो प्रोडक्ट हम लोग मैन्युफैक्चर करना नहीं चाहते हैं, ये वेस्ट जनरेट हो जाता है, and that waste has some small value, so that is known as byproduct. Now in this joint and byproduct, the major in fact in 99% cases, examiner asks you a very simple question, that how to distribute the joint cost among the various products. Let's say from a particular process 3 products emerge out, A, B, C. Now the examiner will ask you how to distribute the cost of that process among A, B, C. So there are various methods that are given in the material, that is the joint cost can be distributed in the ratio of sales value at split off point. Split off point means after process first 3 products emerge out. So that is what we call as the split off point. So the first method that is given is that either you can distribute the joint cost of that process in the ratio of market value of the at split off point. Suppose the second, one more method is there. When you are not being able to identify the market value at split off point, better calculate the dummy market value. We call it as net realizable value, wherein we will take the value of the final product minus the selling cost minus the further processing cost. We will get the net realizable value, and the joint cost will be distributed in that NRV. One more method is physical units method. That is, the joint cost can be distributed in the ratio of physical units. One more method is there, wherein contribution margin method is there, wherein if in question some information is given as regards variable cost and fixed cost, we will apply contribution margin method, wherein variable cost will be distributed in the ratio of units and fixed cost will be distributed in the ratio of a term named contribution, and contribution is calculated as sales minus variable cost. Another method, there is also one method wherein the question will say that distribute the joint cost in the ratio of final sales value of the product. So there are some methods that are given in the study material. Further, I have discussed this chapter in detail in my regular batches, and I have discussed enough of question. So now no rocket science as such. Simply read the question carefully, try to break down the question, and then solve the question. That is the key. So this is all what about joint byproduct and process costing. It's already 9:30, else I would have discussed one question on joint byproduct. But anyways, you can check my recorded session. I have discussed everything in detail on joint and byproduct. I have taken few tricky questions also from past examination, past practice manual. So you can refer those sessions. Still, if you have any doubts or queries, you can just drop in a mail to cma-inter@icai.in. I'm there to address all your queries. So I request you guys to try to solve all the questions of study material. Plus, try to solve the questions of past practice manual. This question is from past practice manual only. That is question number 19. So very good questions are there in past practice manual. Just type over Google IPCC practice manual. You will be able to download it. Further variety of questions are there available in MTPs, RTPs. So you can solve these questions. But the key is the concepts. So first of all, make sure you are thorough with the concept. Check my recorded session. You will find each and every concept in detail. And then try to solve as many as possible questions in writing. Trust me, no one can stop you from scoring good marks in costing. So that is the key. So anyways, guys, that's it for the day. See you guys day after tomorrow with one more chapter, service costing, wherein I'll be taking few good questions on service costing. Till then, complete process costing along with these sessions only. Try to complete the chapters what I'm discussing. Trust me, you will find these sessions very helpful. Anyways, take care, guys. God bless you. Have a great day. See you guys day after tomorrow. Thank you so much. Admin sir, I'm done. Yeah. Should I leave? Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.